my substitute teacher ripped out my hearing aids and said I was faking being deaf, the girl who tormented me for years signed something to me that I'll never forget. I walked into third period and my whole body went cold because Mila was sitting in the back row. She had transferred after I finally reported her for bullying, and I had spent the last year and a half trying to forget her face. She was the one who stole my hearing aids and hid them in the toilet, who mocked my voice in front of everyone until I stopped speaking altogether. I forced myself to walk to my usual seat as far from her as I could get, telling myself that maybe she had changed and this would be fine. But I made the mistake of glancing back at her. She was already watching me with an expression I couldn't read, and somehow that was worse than if she had smiled. A woman I didn't recognize walked in and wrote her name on the board, and when she turned around, her eyes landed on my interpreter. I don't believe in coddling students. You need to leave so she can learn to function in the real world like everyone else. My interpreter stood his ground. I'm legally required to be here. You can take it up with administration. She pointed to the back corner. Then stay out of my way. She turned to me. You, come to the front of the room. I want to see something. I walked up slowly, and she started snapping her fingers next to my ears while the class watched in uncomfortable silence. She waved her hands in front of my face and grabbed my chin hard enough to leave marks, forcing eye contact. How many fingers am I holding up? I told her I could see just fine and it was my ears that didn't work. She laughed. Convenient. I've seen students like you before. Always some excuse for why the tests don't apply to you. Before I could respond, she reached up and yanked both of my hearing aids out of my ears, and the world went muffled and distant the way it always does without them. I looked to my interpreter in the back and he was signing frantically to keep me in the loop. The substitute held my hearing aids up to the class like they were evidence. These are props. She's running a scam for extra test time and special treatment. I'm not going to let her get away with it. Then she dropped one of them on the floor and brought her heel down on it with a crunch that vibrated through the floor and into my feet. I felt tears burning in my eyes because those hearing aids cost $4,000 and my parents had saved for 2 years to buy them. My eyes scanned the room and caught Mila in the back with her phone out and pointed directly at me. My stomach dropped because I realized she was filming everything, and by tomorrow this humiliation would be everywhere. Some things never change. Mila stood up and started walking toward the front of the room, and I braced myself for whatever fresh hell she was about to add to my misery. But when she reached me, she didn't even glance at the teacher. She looked directly at me and raised her hands and carefully signed 3 words. I'm so sorry. My hands forgot how to move. Mila turned to face the substitute and started talking. My interpreter started signing everything so I could follow along. I just filmed everything. The video is already in the principal's inbox. The substitute laughed in her face. I don't care about some teenager's phone video. Nobody is going to believe a student over a teacher. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Sit down or join her in the principal's office. Mila didn't move an inch. I did things to her that keep me awake at night. I spent 2 years trying to become someone who deserved to apologize to her. The substitute rolled her eyes. Save the drama for theater class. This doesn't concern you. Mila went still, and when my interpreter signed her next words, I could tell from his face that something had shifted. I used to think I was cruel, but I never once yanked medical equipment off a disabled girl's body and crushed it under my foot like garbage. You're not a teacher. You're just a bully with a lanyard, and everyone in this room just watched you assault a student. The substitute's face went red. How dare you speak to me like that? I will have you expelled. I will make sure you never graduate. She lunged for Mila's phone. Mila stepped back. It doesn't matter. The video is already sent. The principal is on his way. The substitute's face contorted. You're lying. There's no way you sent it that fast. Mila held up her phone and showed her the sent confirmation on the screen. The teacher went pale and her whole demeanor changed in an instant. I was just asking questions. I didn't mean any harm. Mila cut her off. You can explain that to the lawyers. Mila was breathing hard like the words had cost her something. The principal walked in 30 seconds later and escorted the substitute out while she tried to explain herself the whole way. When the door closed, I signed to Mila. You learned to sign? She signed back slowly, carefully. 2 years. I wanted to apologize in your language.